This is MaxAnimate 1 with the Weekly Mirror. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Weekly Mirror, your trusted source engaging stories, and a comprehensive overview of the week's most important events in 15 minutes. We start off with Monday's headline. The world must defeat climate denialism and fight fake news. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has told the opening meeting of the UN climate talks, emphasizing the urgent need for global unity in confronting the pressing challenges of climate change. In a powerful rallying cry to COP30, President Lula again made thinly veiled references to President Donald Trump, who infamously branded climate change a con job in September, underscoring the detrimental impact such statements can have on public perception and policy. The 2 weeks of talks kicked off on Monday in the lush Brazilian city of Belém, a location that is not only rich in biodiversity but also serves as a critical buffer for the Amazon rainforest, often referred to as the lungs of the earth. These discussions unfold against a fraught political backdrop, marked by the conspicuous absence of senior U.S. officials, raising concerns about the commitment of one of the world's largest carbon emitters to international climate agreements. Moving on to Tuesday's headline, Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy said the BBC must fight to restore trust after criticism that a Panorama documentary misled viewers by editing a speech by Donald Trump, which has raised significant concerns about journalistic integrity and the responsibilities of public broadcasters. In her statement, Nandy acknowledged the increasing scrutiny the BBC faces as it endeavours to maintain its status as a credible source of news and information. She emphasised that a thorough review of the broadcaster's charter would be necessary to ensure a genuinely accountable BBC that operates transparently and in the public interest, defending it as a national institution that plays a vital role in the democratic process and the dissemination of unbiased information. BBC Director General Tim Davie earlier told staff in a passionate address, "We've got to fight for our journalism," highlighting the importance of standing firm against external pressures, especially in light of the US president's threat to sue the corporation for a staggering $1 billion. This situation underlines the precarious position of media organizations in the current climate, where legal challenges can have far-reaching implications for journalistic freedom. A leaked internal BBC memo has brought to light that the Panorama film, which was intended to investigate the events surrounding the Capitol Hill riot on January 6, 2021, misled viewers by splicing together parts of Trump's speech in a way that created the impression he had explicitly encouraged the riot. This revelation has sparked outrage among critics who argue that such editorial decisions can distort reality and manipulate public perception, further eroding trust in the media. In response to the fallout, BBC Chair Samir Shah has issued an apology, acknowledging the missteps in the documentary's production and the necessity for the corporation to uphold the highest standards of accuracy. As seniors, a demographic that often relies on traditional media for news, it is crucial to understand the implications of such incidents, as they not only affect public perception of the BBC but also raise questions about the reliability of information sources in a rapidly evolving media landscape.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Just to touch on something that the Secretary of State alluded to earlier, one of the vital services that the BBC provides is supporting local media, an industry that I worked in for 10 years. And they do this through their local democracy reporting scheme, and it helps to bring forward the next generation of journalists and reporters. So would she agree with me that it is imperative, therefore, that the BBC win back the trust and the discipline and the culture of impartiality so that this can be inculcated into the next generation of journalists so that they can report without fear or favour?
I do agree with him, and that's why this government will also resist attacks on the institution itself from members across this whole House who voiced those in recent days. The local democracy reporting service that he talks about is a vital part of our local democracy. It also helps to create the next generation of journalists who might not otherwise have opportunities to work in journalism and have the opportunity to tell the stories that matter so much to all of us across this House.
Wednesday's headline is that Israel's parliament has passed the first reading of a bill proposing the death penalty for those it deems to be terrorists acting against the state, a requirement which means it is likely to be used only against Palestinians convicted of deadly attacks on Israelis. This legislative move comes amidst a backdrop of rising tensions and ongoing conflicts in the region, raising significant concerns about the implications for both justice and human rights. The bill, which has been condemned by the Palestinian Authority as a blatant act of aggression and by various human rights groups for its potential to further escalate violence, was backed in the 120-seat Knesset by a vote of 39 in favor and 16 against. The decision underscores a growing trend within the Israeli government to adopt more hardline policies in response to perceived threats, particularly in light of the ongoing strife with Palestinian factions. Far-right National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, whose Jewish Power Party brought the vote to the floor, expressed his satisfaction with the outcome late on Monday by celebrating with supporters and distributing sweets, symbolizing his party's triumph. After the law is finally passed, terrorists will only be released to hell, he declared, framing the legislation as a necessary measure to ensure national security and deter future attacks. However, the bill must navigate through 2 more readings in the Knesset before it can officially become law, a process that will likely be fraught with political maneuvering and debate. Critics argue that such a punishment not only undermines the principles of justice but also risks further alienating the Palestinian population and inciting more violence, as it appears to target a specific group based on their ethnicity and political stance. In the same session, the Knesset also approved the first reading of another controversial bill allowing the Israeli government to close a foreign media outlet without court approval. This decision, which passed with a vote of 50 in favor and 41 against, raises additional alarm among advocates for press freedom and civil liberties, who worry that it could further suppress dissenting voices and limit the flow of information regarding the government's actions. Together, these legislative developments signal a significant shift in Israel's approach to both domestic security and public discourse, reflecting the polarized political landscape and the complexities of governance in a region marked by long-standing conflict. As the situation evolves, it remains imperative for observers and stakeholders to consider the broader implications of such policies on peace efforts and the pursuit of a just resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We are now moving on to Thursday's headline. Some 200 Kenyans are fighting for Russia in its war against Ukraine, and authorities indicate that more could be recruited into the conflict, raising serious concerns about the motivations and recruitment tactics being employed. Among those currently engaged in the conflict are former members of Kenya's security forces, according to Kenya's Foreign Affairs Minister Musalia Mudavadi, which suggests that the allure of financial gain or a sense of duty may be compelling these individuals to join a foreign military campaign. The situation is further complicated by alarming reports from some of those who have managed to escape the conflict zone. They have recounted harrowing experiences of being forced to assemble drones and handle hazardous chemicals without any formal training or adequate protective gear, raising significant ethical and safety concerns. Minister Mudavadi emphasized the dire circumstances faced by these individuals, urging for greater awareness and action to prevent further recruitment of unsuspecting Kenyans into such perilous situations. In response to the troubling reports, Kenyan President William Ruto took a proactive stance last week by formally requesting the Ukrainian government to facilitate the release of Kenyans currently held within the conflict zone. This diplomatic effort underscores the gravity of the situation and the Kenyan government's commitment to safeguarding its citizens abroad. Moreover, it is not just Kenyans who find themselves embroiled in this conflict. Approximately 1,400 citizens from various African nations are reportedly fighting alongside Russian forces in Ukraine. The Ukrainian government has indicated that some of these individuals were recruited through deceptive practices, lured by false promises of employment or financial stability, highlighting the vulnerability of those seeking better opportunities. One particularly poignant case involves a young Kenyan athlete who was captured in Ukraine in September. He recounted his experience of being misled into joining the Russian army, underscoring a growing pattern of exploitation that preys on the aspirations and desperation of young people. His story serves as a cautionary tale, illuminating the need for greater vigilance and support systems to protect individuals from falling prey to such dangerous enticements. As the conflict continues to evolve, it remains crucial for both the Kenyan government and the international community to address the underlying issues that lead to such recruitment, ensuring that no more lives are put at risk by manipulative tactics in times of war. We move on to Friday's headline. Disruption has continued after severe flooding from Storm Claudia led the fire service to declare a major incident in a Welsh town. People were rescued from flooded homes in Monmouth after overnight floods left much of the town underwater. Some had to be evacuated to a nearby library, which served as an emergency shelter for those displaced by the rising waters. As the situation unfolded, local authorities worked tirelessly to assess the damage and ensure the safety of residents. Emergency responders, including firefighters and volunteers, faced challenging conditions as they navigated through submerged streets to reach individuals in need of assistance. Many residents, particularly seniors who may have mobility issues, were especially vulnerable during this crisis and required additional support to evacuate safely. In the days following the storm, community centers and local organizations came together to provide resources and aid to those affected, offering food, warm clothing, and counseling services to help residents cope with the aftermath of the flooding. Efforts were also made to restore essential services, such as electricity and clean water, which had been disrupted due to the extensive damage caused by the storm. As cleanup began, the town faced the daunting task of repairing homes and assessing the long-term impact on local infrastructure, all while residents worked to reclaim a sense of normalcy amidst the chaos. Community meetings were held to discuss recovery plans and to ensure that the voices of vulnerable populations, including seniors, were heard in the rebuilding process. The resilience of the Monmouth community shone through as neighbours supported one another during this trying time, highlighting the importance of solidarity in the face of natural disasters.
As you can see, large parts of the centre of Monmouth are still underneath this brown, muddy lake of water. And you can actually see over here how high the flood waters got when this torrent rushed into the town overnight. And locals here have told us about the force, the power of this water.
It was terrifying. I've been awake all night. Luckily they slept, and I got woken up by a really loud noise, and I couldn't see anything out the window because it was dark, but I got a torch and I shone it, and I just saw like a torrent of water.
This is Monmouth, Lower High Street.
The flooding was previously flooding a street in Portugal, where a woman who was 85 died.
I don't know if you see, but my side doorway has been smashed by the waters.
And as the team saw, it actually was smashed by the waters.
The amount of water that was moving through the river, it's very fast flowing, very high risk for someone to enter that water. So again, we would just reiterate for people to please stay away from the water, not to be wading through flood water.
National Lottery results: Lotto 9, 11, 27, 44, 48, 52, and the bonus is 25. Jackpot is £15 million. Euromillions 9, 26, 27, 45, 48, and the two lucky stars are 8 and 9. Sorry that it is showing 4 on the first one. The jackpot is £108 million. The UK Millionaire Maker code is ZSCT91277. Thunderball 5, 8, 10, 14, 20, and the Thunderball is 10. You can check the official results on the National Lottery website. And now the weather for the week ahead.
Hello there. A number of severe flood warnings remain in force across parts of the South West Midlands and South East Wales. The good news is over the next few days, a lot of dry and settled weather around that will aid with the clean-up operations. But it's going to feel very different for the week ahead, much colder for all areas, with an increasing chance of some wintry showers. The cold air will reach all areas by the time we reach Monday, and we will see those snow showers beginning to push into northern and eastern areas. The cold air already across the northern half of the country into Sunday, so a crisp, bright start here. Eventually that colder, drier air will start to break up the cloud for England and Wales, so a brighter afternoon for Sunday than what we had on Saturday, but it will feel cooler, single digits for most, the last of the double-figure values across southern England for now. And then as we move through Sunday night, skies clear, start to see a few showers peppering northern and eastern coast, but inland it will turn cold with a more widespread frost and also a risk of some ice. Temperatures perhaps down as low as -4, 5 Celsius. So it's a cold, frosty start on Monday with a risk of some ice. Lots of sunshine around, and it stays dry into the afternoon for many, but northern and eastern areas will continue to see frequent showers, these turning increasingly wintry. and a chilly day to come. Single figures right across the board. Turns cold as we head through the week, and snow showers becoming more frequent with some accumulations expected on some hills across the north.
And that was this week's Weekly Mirror. We will be back on Sunday at 4 p.m. right here on MaxAnimate 1. The next news will be the MaxAnimate news at 5:45. Have a good evening.